take place. But let's stay a little longer on mining-related issues because residents are leading a crusade against any form of mining to protect their farms and the beautiful forests and water sources in their community. This is captured in the concluding part of Poison for Gold, a documentary produced by Erastus Saridonko, AISS.
Atronsu is a small farming community in the Bibiani Anyaso Bekwai municipality. It is home to this beautiful forest and its serene water source, the Atronsu stream.
Perhaps this is one of the most cleanest water sources flowing through a very green, serene forest on my trail across Ghana. This is so clean, you can drink it. And this is the lifeblood of the farmers, the cocoa farms, pepper growing farms, other farms across this community.
Series of attempts have been made to give this land out for community mining schemes, but the community says no. 80-year-old Georgina Awotri and others want any form of mining to be resisted.
Did you say you are bringing community mining here? These young ones are the reason we live and work. The mining will bring teenage pregnancy and truancy. The children will not go to school. Look at the devastation caused by mining on the Dunkwa Road. Look at how the buildings have been affected. Look at the polluted water bodies. Children are drowning in pits. We are saying we don't want any community mining. Give us better jobs, not mining. If the government wants peace, they should reconsider the decision to bring mining here. We don't want it.
Patrick Jaffet Danso, a farmer, and some residents are in court fighting to prevent the destruction of this green ecosystem.
If it is community mining, at least it is the community members who are to engage in it. But here is the case, they said two companies, Gido Mining Company, Aramzad Company, they are from somewhere that we don't know. The address can be found in Kumasi. So how come it is community mining? Now, the case is at the High Court. So until what we are seeking for, we want injunction to be placed on this community mining because we are not ready because of the consequences that we foresee. So no matter what, even if they are going to kill us, they should kill us and then take the land.
Me and my brothers and those who love the town, we are fighting. Even, I will say again, if they will kill us one by one, we shall fight until they stop what they want to do.
And the producer of that documentary, Poison for Gold, Erastus Saridonko, joins me via Zoom. Erastus, you're welcome to report here on Joy News. Yes, of course.
Thank you, Elton.
All right. So again, let me congratulate you on your new post or your new claim to fame, Journalist of the Year for 2023. But let's talk about this matter. Quite a very interesting and a very serious issue. My understanding is that this community mining concept was instituted to do away with illegal mining, to regulate their activities in a way. So why is the community that you spoke to, the community members that you spoke to, why are they so skeptical about what the community mining would do to their livelihood and, of course, the environment? They should naturally be embracing it, isn't it?
Well, so to answer your question, I think they are taking a cue from, lessons drawn from somewhere. And if you remember, So they are taking a cue from lessons that they've drawn from areas that community mining or so-called community mining, if I should put it that way, have wreaked havoc in. And a typical example is the Akun community mining in Takwa. And if you look at when I went there, I asked the unit committee members and other people. They said, well, we are not for it. We are not consulted. The mining is not for us. So you look at the many community mining schemes that at least I have seen. You ask the local people and they feel they are not part of it. It's not a community mining. It belongs to certain individuals under the cover of community mining. And many of them, you look at the devastation, you look at how they conduct their business in those schemes, and you see that it breaches a lot of environmental laws. And so they have seen it, as they tell me, and they do not want the consequences that come with it. And in fact, if you look at that serene community, you look at the forest, you look at the waterfall, the ecosystem, so serene, it supports their farming. They get a lot from that. They are content with that. And they think that the consequences of the mining to that serene atmosphere will be bad. And so they want to maintain their farming. They want to enjoy the benefits that they get from the forest that they do have.
So they are simply against any form of mining in the community. Is that the case? Yes,
that's what they tell me. And their issue is simple, as you heard them say. They think that the mining, as they have seen it across the country, do not follow laid down regulations. They are uncontrolled. They are irresponsible in nature. The various agencies that should be monitoring and supervising are not supervising it as they should. And so they are afraid that when it comes to their community, they wouldn't have the kind of environment that supports their mainstay, that is agriculture at the moment. And that is why they don't want it at all within the community.
But from your experience traveling across the country, especially in mining areas, are they going to be successful in this fight, where even forest reserves protected by Forestry Commission officials sometimes are invaded by illegal miners, and there's very little they can do? Would they succeed in this fight?
I have seen areas like Mampo, where the chief says, I'm not supporting any form of mining within this area. And so far, Mampo has not witnessed any form of mining. So I look at areas where they've been able to resist and say, no, we don't need it here.
And we are losing Erastus Donkor there, connection issues again. I'm sure he will join us soon for us to conclude this discussion on this community that have taken a strong position against any form of mining, community or large-scale mining in their area, because they've looked at the devastation done to some areas and they've taken a cue from it, and they're saying that enough is enough. We'll not want anybody to step foot into our community. Erastus, you are back. As we conclude on this matter, I was asking how successful are they going to be in being resolute in this stance that they've taken? Right. So still we are having difficulties re-establishing contact with Erastus Donkor. But I guess we can move to other stories now. And Christians across denominations, professions, and various interests will be meeting to evaluate the impact of political parties on the democratic experience of Ghana in the light of citizens' aspirations and the constitutional obligations imposed on the state or government. They will analyze political party impact on various facets of national life, including the church, the three arms of government, the public and private sectors, the media, as well as on citizens and national development. Advocates for Christ Ghana is leading this, and who better explain this concept than Adam Senanu, the convener of Advocates for Christ. And we have Adam Senanu join us via Zoom. Mr. Adam Senanu, good afternoon and welcome.
Good evening from where I am.
Great to have you here on the post. Advocates for Christ. Tell us more about this. And what is informing this drive?
Well, Advocates for Christ Ghana is a public policy advocacy Christian group, a great movement of professionals, pastors, parents, youth, and Christians of all walks of life, seeking to have a permanent voice on national issues and to bring our expertise to bear on influencing what goes on. We have members across probably about 4 continents at the moment. We're about 350 to 400 people. And we just want to make sure that when issues come up, we bring our minds to bear on them. In this particular instance, over the last 4 years, we've had an annual National Christian Forum where we pick a topic of interest and then get into it. This year, we felt that election 2024 was going to be crucial. And so the topic is election 2024, political parties' impact and how Christians should vote. Our survey shows that over the last decade or so, increasingly, political parties here to focus much more on their own interests than the public good. Although Article 1.1 and Article 35.1 talk about sovereignty being in the people and that governments are put in place to promote the welfare of the citizen, we don't have the feeling that that focus is what we are seeing. So we want to assess what has worked, what hasn't worked, what can they do better, what kind of changes do we want to see amongst our political parties heading into 2024. We will look at their impact on the church. This evening, Reverend Dr. Fred Digby, Senior Pastor of Calvary Baptist, will be speaking at Action Chapel on their impact on the church. Tomorrow, we'll be looking at impact on media as well as private sector. And then the following day, we'll look at impact on the 3 arms of government and then on citizens and national development.
So help me to understand this concept very well. So is it a case that you come up with a resolution and then you try to get the political actors to abide by it or go by it? Is that the case?
Excellent question. So by the time the speakers are finished, the last part of their presentations will always have recommendations on what we should do differently to improve where we find ourselves today. We'll pull that into a communique, which we'll forward to the political parties and ask them whether they will align or commit to these, aspirations of the Ghanaian people. And that's our way of saying, we are letting you know what we believe your manifestos for 2024 should capture. What are the kind of things we expect you to do? Yeah, so at the end of it, there'll be a communique and there'll be opportunity for political parties to sign on and say, yes, we also commit to this social contract of agreeing that these are things we also want to stand for. Yeah, so absolutely, that's a very important aspect of how we'll be concluding the engagement.
But Mr. Senator, what really is the problem here? That you have to come under this umbrella for Christ to get your voices heard or to get the politicians to act in a certain way?
Well, statistically, you will note that the Christian community is the single largest constituency in Ghana today, 71.3%.
No doubt about that.
Yeah, so there's a sense in which we believe that when it gets to elections, the politicians understand that numbers makes a difference to the vote. And so it probably is the most strategic way of getting political parties to rethink whether they want to change or not to change. Our key concern at the moment is that we recognize that many of the political parties are spending high sums of money. We are not quite sure how they are being funded. And the likelihood is that when they get into government, it's going to be more, the focus is just going to be much more on how we make our money back. So it's more of political entrepreneurship and business. So there are changes that need to happen. We also recognize that quite often our presidential candidates don't appear to have the final say, maybe in the first year or two. But beyond that, the political parties appear to call all the shots. They decide who gets which ministerial or deputy ministerial or board positions. They determine which policies will fly or not fly. their posture to commentary by civil society and other groups, it's a political party values thing. What they believe in begins to influence what we see as government. And so there's a need to take a keen look, a critical and clinical look at the political party structure, what values they hold, how they are funded, and begin to make certain recommendations that hopefully will ensure that moving to the future, we can enjoy the full dividends of our democratic experience.
Right. I guess these are very crucial matters that we can even explore in the days to come. But I just want to say thank you very much, Mr. Adam Senanu, for joining us to explain the rationale behind this, crusade for Christ, that you are getting the political parties to go according to some dictates that you will put before them. And we'll follow this ongoing workshop where you come up with some resolution to get our political parties to abide ahead of the 2024 general elections. Now.